Hey everybody, Brian Drake, Dwain McFarland, the Fantasy Football Hustle Podcast. Thanks for checking us out again. We're breaking down all the picks from the 2020 NFL Draft with a fantasy view. So with the 15th pick here, the Denver Broncos took a wide receiver. They went Jeudy, the junior out of Alabama, 6'1", 193, ran a 4.45 at the 40. This guy was super productive in his time at Bama, 14 touchdowns last year, 77 catches, over 1,000 yards, and over 15 yards per reception. This is a guy a lot of people thought Dwain was going to come off the board as the number one wide receiver. Denver has to be ecstatic that he fell to them. They pair him with Courtland Sutton on the other side. They just lost Emmanuel Sanders, and things are looking up for Drew Lock in the Mile High City.
Yeah, man, I think you look at it right now. I mean, with these young weapons, we'll talk about Drew Lock here in a second, but I mean, it's Courtland Sutton on one side, who is not the best route runner or separator, if you will, but, he is a guy that, did develop some chemistry with Locke last year. He's a big framed guy. He was coming on. You got Noah Fant, who was their first round pick last year. So a guy that can work the intermediate and underneath and the seams, from the tight end spot, they can also put him in the slot. And then now, with Jeudy, a guy that, his game is really more of it's kind of a silky smooth kind of game. He's a great separator. He's a great route runner. Not overly physical, so he can be jammed still a little bit. He'll have to work on that at the next level. But this is a guy that can create space, and that's what really the NFL is all about. I think the big question here for a guy like Jeudy, as well as the rest of the Denver offense, is the guy that you mentioned at the beginning, and that's just Lock. Drew Lock, obviously his stock is up. If you're in a super flex kind of league, Drew Lock just all of a sudden became a very enticing, QB3 to throw on your roster after you get two others. So, I mean, he could have some upside. My concerns, with Lock are there's a ton of them. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, under pressure was not good. From a clean pocket wasn't good. If you look at the stuff, if you look at Pro Football Focus's quarterback annual, that's what they put out every year. They do a lot of great work here. Positively graded plays. He was 29th in the league out of 34 quarterbacks they graded. His negative grade rate was 17th. Big time throws, he was 29th. Turnover worthy plays, he was the 28th, which is actually higher is worse. So, I mean, and as far as just being, accurate, he wasn't great. He was decent on third down, but that's the only thing. So, I mean, really, typically when you see a quarterback that struggles in every single area like this, it's a bad sign. With most quarterbacks, you can find some sort of silver lining or positive, right? Even with a guy like, Jared Allen, we'll find little nuggets, just have to get that in there for our Bills Mafia folks. But I mean, when you look at Drew Lock, now he was a rookie. He could get better. Things could change, but he really had a lot of problems. So I think that's going to be the issue. You're going to be now, again, you don't have to be an elite fan. You don't have to have, an elite quarterback to be solid in fantasy. You could still be decent. So there's room for, Drew Lock to support these players, even if he just improves a little bit. But to break into that top 12, you really do need a good quarterback if you want to break into that top 12 wide receiver range. And so, what this probably does is it keeps Sutton, down in that, with Lock, it's going to be in the 12 to 24 range. Jeudy, the best I would say is, we're dealing with a rookie. So nobody's going to be too super high on him anyway out of the gate. But I mean, his ceiling is probably to sneak up into like that 36 range. But I still like him as a dynasty prospect because he's a guy that, he works his craft. He continues to get better. He does the things that the NFL wants, that the NFL is moving towards. Like we were talking about, it's a space game. So I think that, Broncos have to be happy to get Jeudy at this spot. And now they have three playmakers on the outside. They've got two running backs and Gordon as well as Phillip Lindsay that can do some damage. So, I mean, their offense, if Drew Lock can get things together and even just be average, their offense could be pretty good.
Wouldn't shock me if they went out and tried to get a veteran backup. They had Flacco there for a while and they let him go. Somebody like Andy Dalton, if they could find a way to get him on the roster, I think would make a lot of sense because, this is a team that wants to pound the rock. You see the way they're building their team around defense and running the football. Now with Melvin Gordon there also. And the best thing to help a young quarterback, is a great running game and a good defense. And Denver has both of those things. But, you can't have Jeff Driscoll and these kind of, scrubs on the back end of your roster as your backup quarterback. I think they have to find a way to improve that, because all your eggs, I don't think, can be in the Drew Lock basket. But what a great player they got here in Jerry Jeudy. 24 touchdowns over his last 28 games at Alabama, and he is the 15th pick off the board going to the Denver Broncos. We're going to be back because there's another wide receiver that just went off the board to America's team, and we're going to have fun with this one. So we'll be back with CeeDee Lamb to the Dallas Cowboys in a few. This is a Fantasy Football Hustle.